a massive day for BYU in the Big 12. And I think if you've followed BYU sports at all, and maybe you haven't because they're new to the conference, maybe you're just the garden variety, I only watch big-time programs. Well, you should start paying attention to BYU athletics because BYU athletics is a big-time program. There's no doubt about that, whether it's football, a 10-win season, a Sweet 16 appearance for the basketball team now. Whatever is in the water in Provo, you need to get some of that because BYU right now, almost inarguably, is the best athletic program in the Big 12. And they have an opportunity tonight in the Sweet 16 to knock off Alabama basketball and prove a point that BYU is no flash in the pan, that this team is legitimately good. And what is going on in Provo is legitimate program building. They're doing it with talent. They're doing it with talent on the floor, with talent on the bench, with talent in the coach's office. This is not accidental that BYU basketball is in the Sweet 16. In my opinion, they've played for now the last month to 6 weeks some of the best basketball in the country that nobody knows about. And so we continue to hear this narrative about BYU that it's a stunner and they're a Cinderella and they're an upset special. No, they're not. And if you're one of the people saying that, what it tells me is you haven't been paying attention to BYU basketball because they're playing legitimately good basketball. Now, are they better than Alabama? In my mind, they are not. I think Alabama is one of the elite teams in the SEC. I think Nate Oates is one of the elite coaches in the country. But that does not mean that BYU cannot beat Alabama. And one of the things that I think is so important is that BYU find a way to win this game tonight, to break through this artificial barrier of the weird Mormons who don't drink caffeine and wear magic underpants. Because that's what most people look at BYU as. They don't take BYU basketball seriously. They don't take BYU football seriously. BYU doesn't get the respect that they've earned. They have to go out and take it. And Jake, I think tonight is absolutely an opportunity for BYU basketball to announce their presence with authority.
Absolutely. And I think that, Kevin Young, the head coach for BYU, has an opportunity to really announce himself nationally. I think that, people were excited about his hire, but to your point, like, I don't think that people understand just how good of a job he's done. And I think that, when you get into these games against better teams that clearly can beat you, that's when I feel like the coaching side of the conversation really starts to climb the priority ladder, because ultimately there's going to be moments in this game tonight where Kevin Young is going to have to, drop a play, make an adjustment, sub somebody in at a key time that ultimately will either make an impact to help his team win a game or will hurt his team. And I think that when I look at BYU, like I said earlier in the week, I think that their margins are very fine when it comes to winning this game. You're going to have to shoot the ball really well, goes without saying, but you're also going to have a performance where you don't turn the ball over constantly. You can't have 15 turnovers in this game and think you're going to win this game. This needs to be one of your best games in terms of ball security. And overall, I just think that tonight is a game for BYU where I'm looking for them to have one of their best performances of the season. I almost expect them to have that level of performance because it's Kevin Young, because it's a guy who came from the NBA, because it's somebody who understands that this moment isn't too big for his team. I think when you get to the Sweet 16, you get to the Elite Eight, you get deeper into the tournament. And what do we know? The games feel bigger. There's more pressure. There is certainly more eyeballs on your game. And for some players, that's going to go ahead and take them out of their element. That's going to make it difficult for them to be successful. But I don't expect that tonight for BYU. I expect BYU to be locked in tonight. I expect them to shoot the ball well, and I expect this to be a pretty tight game. Now, I think you have to take Alabama just looking at the numbers, but I don't think this is some 15-point blowout. I think if BYU brings their best, this is a 3-possession, 2-possession kind of game all the way down to the wire. and BYU is going to be right in it. So anybody saying that BYU somehow is, shouldn't be here or this is somehow shocking, I would agree, hasn't watched BYU. And I think if you're someone saying that, we talked about this earlier in the week and we had people saying that Alabama somehow is not an elite team. I think you got to do your homework on this game because this is clearly a great team from the SEC playing a team from the Big 12 that has a formula to win and is one of the teams in that conference. And it's really going to come down to who executes better.
Yeah, and I think you look at the way Alabama plays, it's the fastest team in the country. They, on average, have to defend 7 more possessions than any other team in the country, which is why when we were talking about the other day that Alabama is a top 30 defensive team, and everybody was trying to run out stats saying, hey, they're bottom 100. You have to adjust for pace of play. Ken Palm, who I think most people recognize as the stats guru of college basketball, he adjusts for pace of play. Alabama basketball is top 30 in the country, adjusted for pace of play. They defend 7 more possessions on average per game than any other team in the country because offensively they play so fast. So when I look at the way that BYU can win this game, I think they have to slow the game down. I think they have to use movement. I think they have to swing the ball. And I think that they have to, as a matter of principle, run the shot clock down under 10 seconds every chance they get. From the very opening possession to the very last possession. Burn clock, take possessions away from Alabama, and that's the key to beating them. Now, unfortunately, BYU has a tendency to turn the ball over. And if BYU is going to turn the ball over at a significant level, they're going to get blown out tonight. And they can shoot 100% from 3. They will get blown out tonight. I think the magic number is 12 turnovers. If you have more than 12 turnovers, I think it's going to be very difficult for BYU to win this game.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think when you add the turnover conversation to the conversation where it's like, hey, if you, let's say that you don't shoot it well from 3 tonight, and you've got a lot of long rebounds and you allow Alabama to get out in transition, that's not going to be obviously a formula for success. And that's why I say I agree that working the clock and working the ball for BYU as a team is crucial.
Huge.
Because not only do they need to shoot it well, everyone knows that, but what has to take place for them to shoot it well? Well, obviously you want to get, the best look that you can possibly get. And we all know in college, getting great looks comes down to moving the ball and making the defense get uncomfortable. And ideally, I would love to see a lot of, hey, Richie's going to penetrate the paint and then he's going to kick to the corner and they're going to swing that thing and they're going to get the wide open look on the weak side wing or we're going to get it to the block. We're going to get fouled. Like, I would love to see BYU, to your point, control pace of play either through working the clock or getting fouled. Because the other thing I think BYU, doesn't, it's not something that I think is a problem for them per se, but I see it in their games where there are 5 to 7 minute stretches where they're playing this frenetic pace. It's real quick, but they're shooting it well. They've got a lot of momentum. They're riding the wave, and there's a lot of possessions in this small window. And against a team like Alabama, they like to play that way. So you can't allow the game to get away from you. Like, it would not be surprising if in this game we had a couple of 10-point runs real quick, 10 points in 2.5 minutes for either side. Because if BYU shooting it well and Alabama's running, you can kind of start to see what kind of game we're going to get here.
Can they win on the road? I mean, it really is as simple as that. Can BYU win on the road? And they've shown the ability to do so, but they have not played well. Their biggest wins, almost without exception, were at the Marriott Center, not the Marriott Center. It's the Marriott Center. I look at some of the stats. Ken Palm has them 9th offense, 71 defense at BYU, 178th in tempo. They play significantly more methodical basketball than Alabama does, who Ken Palm has 4th offensively at Alabama, 29th defensively, and number 1 in tempo.
Yeah.
I think people think this is going to be a shootout. Sure. Is there going to be a lot of points scored in this game? Look at the line. 175.5 points. Yeah, I think there's going to be points scored in this game. But when I look at the way that BYU plays, don't turn the ball over, shoot 40% from three, you'll be in this game late in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
I think that's late in the second half. I think that's exactly what we're looking at. I think that when you shoot 37.8% from three, I mean, that's amazing. What do you, if I said to you, because when's the last time BYU went to the Elite Eight? The early 80s?
Long time.
What would this mean to BYU? If I said to you, hey, they're going to the Elite Eight, they beat Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I think it clearly it's a statement for the program. But I think, if we zoom out a little bit and we look at it from an athletic department standpoint, I think it's massive. I think, you had a lot of success in football, albeit a disappointing finish. Still a really good season leading the Big 12 for most of the way. And then parlaying that into basketball. And I think we've talked so much, and not just uniquely to BYU, but just to the Big 12, that the Big 12 needs to find a way to start beating the SEC a little more. And this is one of those opportunities. And it should not be lost on anyone that the Big 12 needs as many shares as it can get out of this tournament. You've got, what do you have, 4 Big 12 teams left, I believe it is. You need them to win those games. And obviously you've got Arizona playing Duke. You've got BYU playing Alabama. And, there are definitely some underdog vibes here a little bit. I think if you look at the numbers and the sentiment, but ultimately, what would it mean to BYU? I mean, I think it's hard to vocalize what it would mean. I think getting to the Elite Eight for BYU would be incredible. I mean, not only are we seeing, BYU kind of being the trend starter with hiring NBA guys into the college ranks, but then to have that hire translate into an Elite Eight appearance, it just is sensational. So I think that people need to stop discounting BYU and need to start saying, like, yeah, BYU is spending money. BYU, is a new age program from a philosophical standpoint. They're really aggressive in their media department with marketing the program and pushing the program. Obviously they've got money, and everyone just kind of assumes that the Ryan Smith, Danny Ainge kind of contingent has a huge part of this success. And AJ's not even on the team yet. Like, this is a team that I would contend doesn't have like a bona fide superstar on it, like some of these other squads.
Yet I think this might be BYU's most talented team ever.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part.
And I think this is a big night for BYU in the Big 12. I mean, obviously you look at the Big 12 and you look at this one right here, Duke Zona, huge game. Look at the line though.
Yeah.
Duke's 9.5 in that game. You look at Texas Tech, Arkansas. I am shocked that Arkansas is only a 5.5 point dog. This is a huge night for the Big 12.
Yeah.
And it starts with BYU, Alabama. This is the Big 12 versus the SEC. We've all heard the SEC is this behemoth. The Big 12's an afterthought. They're lucky to even be here. We've heard it all. It will start with this game. If BYU beats Alabama, and I don't know that they will, and I actually don't think that they will, but you put up 85 points on average against 2 pretty good defensive teams, including Wisco, that's impressive. That is impressive. And you did it in a way that I think gives people hope that you can compete against Alabama. I think Alabama is one of the top 5-6 teams in the country. I think BYU is one of the top 15 teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alabama is significantly deeper and more talented. That doesn't mean BYU can't win this game. And if I had to guess, I think this will be a 90-82 kind of game. Bama will score. I think Alabama will score a lot because I just don't. BYU goes through these stretches where they just don't protect the basketball.
Yeah, they don't play well for 5 minutes at a time.
And that's where teams like Alabama just absolutely throttle you.
Yeah, but I also, while I agree with that, I guess I expect that Kevin Young is going to have these guys ready to go. Again, this moment is not too big for him. And I know I keep talking about that, but But isn't this why you hired an NBA guy? Isn't this why you brought in a guy that has experience and has been part of good teams and knows how to win in these moments? Like that was the whole point of bringing him in. And I think about the cool thing with basketball is like it's not like football where you have like if I said Alabama versus BYU on the football field, we'd obviously be having a completely different conversation, right? Obviously, you would say Alabama's going to win that game 9 out of 10 times and maybe even 10 out of 10 times. But on the basketball floor, it's different because if you're playing well and you give yourself an opportunity, all BYU needs to win this game is for Alabama to turn it over 4 or 5 times more than they usually do.
Yeah.
And for Alabama to get in some foul trouble. And then obviously you got to shoot it well. So if you can find a way to kind of get Alabama on their heels a little bit, kind of get them in an awkward situation, maybe force some turnovers early, don't allow them to find their flow early. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for out of this BYU team tonight. I want to see them come out, not just try to do what they always do, right? Like it goes without saying you have to play well, but you're going to need an extra thing. There's going to have to be something that Alabama really struggles with tonight that holds them back. And it's not going to be pace of play. I can assure you of that. They are going to try to push the pace. So it's either going to be turnovers or they're not going to shoot it well. Maybe they don't shoot it well from the line. Like those are the kind of things that BYU needs to create against Alabama to really be, within 5 points, with 7-8 minutes to go.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt that this is going to come down to 3-point percentage because Alabama is very good at taking away the 3-pointer. And my opinion is, how many turnovers does BYU have? If they have 15 turnovers, they're getting blown out. Because at that point, Alabama is just going to wear your ass out. They're going to win it at the free throw line. And because you're going to have to foul them. You cannot allow Alabama to get out and run.
Yeah.
If you allow them to play at a frenetic pace, you will lose by 30 in this game. Because BYU does not play fast. But I think the real win is BYU is a really good design team. And this is probably too much minutia, but when you play positionless basketball, which is what BYU plays, right? They run the Monty Williams system that KY brought over from Phoenix, where you don't really have a point guard. You have a bunch of guys you have 5 guys on the floor playing ball. That system is an enigma, and it can be difficult to defend. But Alabama takes away the 3-point shot, and I think that's where we really start to figure out who's going to win this game. I'm stoked. I'm excited for it.
Well, and also, if BYU is not shooting it well, how soon do they go to the pick and roll? Because they've done some nice things in this tournament with the pick and roll. There's no question about it. I mean, they've gotten in the line. You have some bigs that really embrace the physicality down low and want to take it to the other team. So I again, like that's an area where I'm like, hey, like let's get, hey, if we're not shooting it well the first 5 minutes, if we're 0-4 the first 5 minutes, let's say, okay, let's shift a little bit. Let's go to pick and roll. Let's get to the line. Like let's rack up some fouls. Let's those are the kind of things I'm looking for. It's not like I want to see a performance tonight where the coaching staff for BYU is able to diagnose in the moment and say, okay, this is what my team is showing me right now. This is what we're doing well. This is what we're struggling with. And this is the adjustment we got to make to stay in this thing. I'm telling you right now, if it's 5 points with under 10 minutes left to go in this game, Bama wants nothing to do with that.
Nothing.
You want nothing, absolutely, positively nothing to do with that type of game with BYU. Alabama's going to be looking to be up 10 going to the half. And that, you can't allow that if you're BYU.
Yeah, and I think you can't put Grant Nelson in a position if you're Alabama to have to come in and rescue you like you did against St. Mary's. Because that was almost a big upset, a 2-7 upset. Then Grant Nelson came in, who's been probably is their best player, dealing with this knee injury, and he looked fine. He played 28 minutes, scored 12 points, gave him 8 boards and 2 dimes. And when he's on the floor, they're a much better team. I'd expect him back out there tonight. But this is a critical moment. This is an opportunity for BYU to go back to the Elite Eight for the first time since the 80s. And this is an opportunity for the Big 12 to send a message. And I also think this is an opportunity to have a massive night, because what you've got 2 of the 3 games for the Big 12 against headliners, BYU and Alabama, Zona and Duke.
Yeah.
And nobody expects you to win either of those games. I fully expect Tech to beat Arkansas. I think Texas Tech's a better team. I think Texas Tech is going to dominate inside. I think Texas Tech should absolutely have Arkansas in foul trouble, and they should control this game almost from inception.
And I think everyone agrees with you on that. If you look at the over-under number, I mean, that number suggests a game that's controlled.
I don't, and bros in Tucson in the state of Arizona, we love you. This is not going to end well for you tonight. I think, did anybody see what John Shire said? And I know y'all ripped me a couple of weeks ago when I said there's no chance Cooper Flagg is going back to Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what John Shire said yesterday? Anybody? Yeah, Cooper Flagg's moving on to something very special. Well, he said moving on to something very special. And he tried to, I maybe backtrack is strong, but he said it's not always about the money. Well, Cooper Flagg's going in the NBA.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg's proven a point. And there are people who believe this ankle injury pushed him over the line, maybe. I don't think there was ever pushing needed. I think this is a victory tour for Cooper Flagg, but make no mistake about it. BYU's the game. BYU's the game. Because if you beat Alabama and Tech beats Arkansas, you've made a statement that you are on par in basketball with the SEC. And I don't know that many people believe that.
Yeah.
And the SEC is by far the best conference this year, for sure. All right, let's go to the comment section. Steely Matt. Boy, Steely, did you guys see the Wetzel piece at ESPN? If you guys do not follow Dan Wetzel, it is just Dan Wetzel on Twitter. Wetzel. Where he's talking about this is the most prolific scandal, the Matt Weiss scandal. This is the most prolific scandal I've ever seen, one source told Dan Wetzel. So this thing is just getting going with Matt Weiss. Good morning, Mr. Preston. Jay Chapman, hello. Huge for the SEC, man. Huge. Can you imagine if Calipari can knock off Texas Tech?
Man.
That would be unbelievable for Cal and Arkansas. Sauce.
Yeah, sauce.
I think that would be Suey. It's not going to happen. I think Texas Tech is much better than people give them credit for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Tech is, you talk about the Big 12, how good of a story is Tech? I mean, you had the offseason that you had in football, expecting big things, obviously, as everybody is. And now you've parlayed that once again into basketball. And this relationship between football and basketball, I don't care who you are, I don't care what conference you're in. You got to have at least a conference championship caliber season, if not a CFP caliber season in football.
Yep. And
then you got to push that success into basketball. And I'm not going to sit here and say that somehow if Tech were to lose tonight, that it would be written off as, oh, they had a great season. Now that would be a bad loss.
That'd be a bad loss.
That'd be a bad loss. But if Tech wins tonight, which they should, and they go to the Elite Eight and they lose in the Elite Eight, let's say, okay, then I can say, yeah, you had a good season. BYU, if you win tonight, that's a great win for BYU. That is a phenomenal overachieving win, in my opinion, for BYU if they win tonight. And then for Arizona, I mean, you can't state it enough. If you somehow found a way to beat Duke and send Cooper Flagg home, I can't even begin to, describe how big of a win that is. I can't,
and I love the Arizona story. I think rebuilding from that scumbag Sean Miller into
he's Texas's head coach now. He's saving the Longhorns.
Oh, that's right. Kevin Durant's new best friend, that scumbag Sean Miller, recovering from what that scumbag Sean Miller did to Arizona.
Scumbag.
You got to say it with a little emphasis.
Scumbag.
That scumbag. Like, when we were talking about the scumbag Kansas City Chiefs.
So I said, yeah.
The scumbag Sean Miller.
Yeah.
To recover from what he did to that program, the stupidity of calling it a players program, the stupidity of losing $240 million.
Oh, you can drive back to Phoenix.
And recovering again from what that scumbag Sean Miller did to Arizona basketball. This is nothing short of a revelation in Tucson.
Yeah.
I could not be happier for any Arizona Wildcat basketball fan. I go back to Lute Olson. I go back to Steve Kerr. The way that program has built its history and tradition, to have handed that over to a scumbag like Sean Miller, who absolutely defecated on it. You've moved past that now, because now you're one of the best teams in the country, and it's going to end tonight against Duke. I think that's the reality of it.
Which sucks, but.
And it does.
Yeah.
And it's not going to feel good. And I agree with you. For all the BYU fans that were in our comments section the other day talking about how no matter what happens tonight, this was a good season. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. If you lose tonight and you're not disappointed, dude, you're not competitive. You might want to go get your low T checked, because if you lose tonight and it doesn't feel bad, there's something wrong with you.
Facts.
This is for a spot in the Elite Eight. This is Saturday basketball in the NCAA tournament.
This is why you did everything you did in the offseason, bro. This game tonight is the what do you want to call it? The exact reason, the whole point of why you brought in an NBA caliber coach to lead your program.
This is why Ryan Smith has spent so much money on AJ DeBanza, allegedly. This is why Kevin Durant's other buddy of a coach, KY Jelly, is at BYU, right? This is why you lift all them caffeinated. Never mind. My point is,
decaf.
You have a chance. You have a chance to prove a point, to reinforce. Win the game. That's what you got to do tonight. I think it's going to be very difficult to beat. I think it's going to be really almost impossible to beat Alabama.
Game, though.
It
Must
is.
watch.
It is absolutely. Matt Ritson, hello. Blue Turf, hello. Jay Chapman, what an SEC homer. Got to hand it to BYU. They're making the most out of the opportunity they were given in the Big 12. 100%.
Facts.
100%. Maury Alvarez, our great Floridian.
Hey, Maury.
Made a $10 donation to the Advocates yesterday to fight childhood hunger.
Appreciate you.
Please join him. Please join him. Advocates donations on Venmo. Advocates donations on Venmo. Do it. Do it. And I think no, I don't think it was Maury. It might have been one of you guys, one of you hyenas sent me your Cooper Flag free pick on Prize Picks.
No, we're getting in the pooper for Cooper, Monty.
If you're not in the pooper for Cooper on Prize Picks, boys, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing, dude?
Cooper Flag is your free pick tonight. He has to score one single point, and you get a win on Cooper Flag. And I've told you that my plays, Cooper Flag more than 1 point, Walter Clayton for Florida more than 20 points, and Grant Nelson more than 12 points against BYU. Those are my plays tonight. Go and get it. Download the Prize Picks app right now. Use the promo code Monty.
Hey, Monty.
Monty, Monty, to open a new Prize Picks account. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more instantly. Then go get your Cooper Flag free play, and let's all win money. You're going to play a flex play. That means you only need 2 of 3 to win. A 3-pick flex play. Make 3 picks. Flex play. 2 of 3 need to win. So what does that really mean? They're giving you Cooper Flag for free. That means you only need to hit 1 out of 2. And you win at Prize Picks. It is, I'm telling you, today's opening day in Major League Baseball, we haven't played a game yet, and the Cubs are 0-2.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Baseball on Prize Picks, amazing. I cannot wait when we go to afternoons on Monday. we're going to be able to talk a lot more basketball,
Yes.
a lot more baseball,
Yes.
a lot more NFL, a lot more college football. I'm
Is
so
today
stoked
not
about it.
a great day in sports fandom.
Well, and I said this when it came out that today was going to be opening day and today was the tip off of the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
And I want to say that was January or no, it was before Christmas or before our Christmas break, I think it was. Today is the best calendar day of the year for sports.
I mean,
Opening day in Major League Baseball with a full slate. Screw the Dodgers.
yeah,
And
screw them.
the four of the best games in college basketball are tonight. How have you not downloaded the Prize Picks app? You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly when you use the promo code Monty. Do it now. DM me. We still haven't decided. Are we going to do a Final Four? Are we going to do a Final Four
Yeah,
thing?
we just have to figure out how we can put it together. I mean, or what differentiates? Because I'm assuming that all of you hyenas are taking our advice and are winning big on Prize Picks, since we've got one of the biggest promo codes of Prize Picks right now. So
hook it up. Hook it up.
Yeah, hook it up.
Join a lot of people on the show. Yeah, I'm probably underselling the lead. Do you guys understand that we have on the West Coast, we have one of the biggest, Monty is one of the biggest promo codes on Prize Picks.
Yes.
Hook it up. Join the club, man. I love that you guys DM me your Prize Picks. I love that you guys, I don't have to wonder who it was. Maddie, the guy, Maddie.
Hey, Maddie.
Should I say his full name or just his first name?
Hey, Maddie, Prize Picks.
Maddie Flores.
Stud. Hey, Flores.
Maddie Flores in Los Angeles, one of our listeners in LA. Did a LeBron Prize Pick. And he called me stupid because on the show several times I said, I don't believe you can take LeBron because he's so streaky.
Well,
and that the only Laker I think you can take in Prize Picks is Austin Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take Luka because he's fat.
Right.
Or excuse me, you can't take Hookah Doncic because he's fat.
My name is Luka.
I smoke hookah on the second floor.
Yes.
So you can't take hookah. I don't think you can take LeBron. Did you guys see LeBron last night? He didn't score his 10th point until the fourth quarter. Yeah, let me take LeBron.
Yeah, I mean,
Austin Reeves is the
doesn't
only
have his
Laker.
cookies, dude.
Maddie Flores,
not performing.
Our great Angelino, ripped me and said, I don't know the Lakers. And he went with the full keep the Lakers out, chum out.
Stay hard.
Keep the Lakers out, chum out. And he promptly lost. So